Hello and welcome to Coffee with Cow at Learn International. My name is Sheila Maloney and I'm the Study Abroad Coordinator at Learn International. And today we're here to share a study abroad story from Jessica Curtis. Jessica, how are you?
I'm fairly well. How about yourself?
Great. We're really excited to have you here and to share about your time abroad. For those of you who don't know, Cow is our Study Abroad Learn International mascot, and she travels everywhere we go. Coffee with Cow podcast aims to capture and share stories from students like Jessica or from international educators. And like I said, Jessica's here to share her time abroad. Jessica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, as mentioned, I'm Jessica Curtis. I am from the United States, originally the state of Virginia. I got the opportunity to study abroad when I was in graduate school in 2018. The program was called International Arts Management in Ireland and Scotland, where we spent 2 weeks abroad studying how the arts and cultural sectors in Ireland and Scotland translate to the rest of the country as well as the rest of the world. We had initially started with 2 weeks in the States, where we examined US-based arts, cultural, and tourism organizations and their relationships with things abroad. I am graduating in this unusual time. So we have, some great opportunities ahead of us, and I do hope that myself and the rest of my colleagues take advantage of all the unique and interesting things that have been happening here in the last couple of months.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate your optimism in a time like now and looking forward or looking towards what could happen in the future in your industry and in international education. We at Learn would love to hear about your study abroad experience. Walk us through maybe the academic aspect of it. You said you went to Ireland and Scotland. Maybe you could talk about some cultural excursions that you did there. So share us about that experience.
Sure. So in 2018, in the summer, we initially started with organizing a kind of project that would carry us through from start to finish. We would research a cultural or tourism organization or an arts organization, depending upon what our field of interest was, and find a comparable organization in the United States and compare and contrast, essentially. One of the things we started with, in addition to a project to carry through, was learning a little bit more about what exactly it means to be Irish or Scottish. So we got to learn about music, the history, the food, the architectural scene, and things like that. So it was really cool to learn a lot more about a country than you would initially have intended in any of the other programs. And finally, when we transitioned from States to abroad, we got to visit a lot of the places that we talked about. And we got to meet different people who discussed not only what they thought it meant to be Scottish or Irish and what their role was in their organization, but also what they thought their role of the organization was within not only the town that they were based, but within both the national and the international scene. Because Scotland was in an interesting time. They were still trying to figure out their role in relationship to the EU and Brexit. So it was interesting to hear about some of the challenges that they were about to have to overcome. A lot of it was met with a lot of optimism, which is something that I remember now going into these unusual times. And in Ireland, a lot of the really cool resources that the EU had provided them, and especially when it came to like the Irish national theaters.
That's really interesting. It seems like you got quite an experience. I mean, it sounds like you were very prepared with the coursework before you departed to Scotland and Ireland, and I love that you got to see a bunch of academic sites while you were there. You did your program while you were in grad school. Did you always know that you wanted to study abroad?
Yes, and particularly I was jealous ever since I was 7 years old when my mom decided to go to Ireland without me.
Oh no.
But I had done some study abroad in undergraduate as well, one being an academic research opportunity in Italian music and poli-sciences when I was in my junior year of undergraduate study. And then I was a volunteer teacher in Tanzania and Kenya in between my undergraduate and graduate transition, where I got to serve people in Moshi, Tanzania through a really cool program called the Daraja Music Initiative, where we talked not only about music education and like working on polishing English skills, but also conservation and the importance of utilizing a very unique resource to Tanzania and how it translates to the music world.
Very interesting. It sounds like you have quite traveled or international education background before you did this program in Ireland and Scotland. Would you say your experiences in, you said Italy and then Tanzania and Kenya, kind of encouraged you to go back and do a program during your graduate degree? Go back as in go back overseas, not go back to the returning countries, but continue exploring another country in your academics.
Yeah, it definitely had some influence with that. And also, like, I just, as you mentioned, really like to travel. And having the opportunity to learn more about my field's specific culture and the relationships that each of these three unique things form. So having the opportunity to really dive into that type of work abroad was something that was a super great opportunity for me.
That's great. I love to hear that. Could you, out of your time specifically in Ireland and Scotland, would you be able to share with us maybe a favorite moment that you took away from that experience?
Sure. There were honestly tons of great moments from just being around the various people day to day, going to eat in like really cool little niche hangouts and hiking around downtown in Edinburgh. That was a lot of fun to see like the connections between the nature and the people in both Ireland and Scotland. And one thing that was really significant was the international partnerships manager, Lee McRonald at Visit Scotland, got to spend a lot of time with us talking about all the things that they do. And specifically, we discussed how they're working on increasing inclusion and diversity within tourism of Scotland, because they don't necessarily want tourism at any price. They don't want everybody to come in and like wreck all the resources. They want to be sustainable and smart about it. So one of the things that they've been trying to do is not only create partnerships with organizations that deal with every aspect of the industry, from transportation and food and beverage and hospitality, to also take those same partnerships that they have and ask for donations of time and money and resources in order to create what are called spirit breaks in Scotland, where they essentially provide a week's worth of free vacation to a family that meets below a certain income threshold. So families, yeah, families get to apply, and if they're accepted, they will be able to go and spend a week somewhere in Scotland with their children or their spouses or whomever, in order to be able to really not only just see these really unique and amazing opportunities that Scotland has, but also be able to really take a break, which is something that like a single mom with lots of kids or like a single dad with some other responsibilities, you know, wouldn't necessarily have unless this program was in place. So
yeah, that's a definitely pretty unique and inspiring program to learn about. That's pretty cool. I would probably say it's a pretty significant moment if I were to experience that in Scotland. Have you come across anything like that overseas or in your studies at all? Or is this pretty unique for what you've come across?
In terms of the tourism industry, it's extremely unique. There's lots of opportunities I know within like religious organizations and other things like that to provide ways for people to come and experience like a type of rest, but like taking people on like an adventure almost, where they get to see not only just like one specific place, they're taken to like really not only culturally significant but like sometimes historically significant places, and really just act and be present in the fact that like they're just like any other family taking a vacation together, and they don't necessarily feel like it's because someone's giving them a vacation. They actually get to, choose like where they want to go and what they want to do and those types of things. So it's really, honestly, very unique and a great idea that I hope that other states or countries could model at some point.
Yes, definitely. That'd be interesting to see if that becomes more mainstream in tourism. I'd love to see more or hear more like that. So that's a pretty amazing moment to experience while you're overseas. So you are finishing up grad school, which is pretty exciting. So congratulations with that. I am pretty curious with all your studies and especially with your time overseas in Ireland and Scotland in that program. What would you say is the biggest academic takeaway that you receive from your time abroad?
Probably the inspiration for my thesis. My master's thesis was on the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development's Discover Tennessee Trails and Byways program and the Tennessee Music Pathways program, which are the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development is what's called a DMO, like a destination marketing organization within the state of Tennessee's government. And what they try to do is they try to encourage people to come to Tennessee and foster some type of connection and a relationship with those people. And one of the ways that they do that is through the Tennessee Music Pathways program and the Discover Tennessee Trails and Byways program. That specifically is supposed to not only get people to come to Tennessee, but also travel around to various places in Tennessee using the existing highway and byway system. So that way they're not only seeing the major cities or the big points, they're also being able to go into the more rural aspects of Tennessee and explore those places. At one point, they were discussing doing some type of division where they were talking about the intersections between all these and how growth and development could support that. And because of the time that I spent in Scotland, where the Lee McRonald had discussed what's called a visitor economy, where each aspect of tourism is connected to an industry. Like you can't exist as a tourist and not use some type of transportation or not eat some type of food or even spend the night in some type of place. So thinking about those connections in Scotland and examining potential places where those connections could exist in the United States was not only the inspiration behind my thesis, but some of the perspective I took when I was examining this particular program. And, there's some things that were great about it and some things that were not. And my hope is that at some point I'll be able to dive more into this industry and not only help support and develop it, but also, learn more things every day, all the time about the unique and wonderful places that exist, not only in the United States, but the rest of the world.
Yes, definitely. As someone who enjoys traveling as a hobby and is now trying to break into the field of international education, sometimes I'm not quite fully aware of what it takes for tourism to develop certain sites, programs, interacting with the community. So it's unique that you're kind of in the front line of, or the background of creating these types of tourist destinations or attractions for people to explore new cultures or new parts of the world. So that must be pretty cool for you to be part of that as someone who also likes to travel as well.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm super grateful for the opportunities that lie ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Jessica, we are grateful to have you here with us today. Lauren is very grateful for your time. I appreciate your stories, and I love to hear about your time abroad and what makes you continue to go back overseas and what makes you to bring what you brought overseas back to your home and into your future career. So thank you so much for being here, Jessica. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate yours as well, Sheila. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. You can find this episode along with other episodes on our Learn International YouTube channel and throughout our social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn with the hashtag LearnINTL. And you'll find this episode along with others who are sharing their stories abroad. So once again, Jessica, thanks so much for your time, and we look forward to hearing the next story. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.